So with Arizona, UCLA, Oregon, 5, 6, 7, and the new AP, what do you think about that?
You know, I would rather be in the poll than not in it, that's for sure, especially if you're in the top 10. So that's always a reflection of the program that we have. It's a credit to this year's team. It really is. You know, the ranking in mid to late February, there's a lot that has been earned. And in our case, I think the consistency from the beginning of the year until now, overcoming adversity, playing through injuries, and you know the situation that we had with Alonzo. I've said it time and time again. I think that we have a resilient group. We got a great group of guys to coach. We've stuck together to this point, and that's you know, when you get to mid-February with March being so close, now's when you want to hit on all cylinders, and I think you rely a lot on that chemistry and that togetherness to continue to compete and improve, not stop and think about where we're at, but just continue on the quest to be at our best here as the month of March is right around the corner.
You know, there are a couple weeks left for the regular season, but at the beginning of the season, someone that said 3 Pac-12 teams, top 10 towards the end, you would have said what?
Well, I would have predicted Oregon. You know, they were a 1 seed a year ago. You know, one of the deceptive qualities of Oregon that not a lot of people talk about is, especially by today's standards in college basketball, they have incredible experience. You know, if you look at Boucher and Ennis, you know, those two guys are in their 5th or 6th year of college, and they have been good players. It's not like they just are now starting to play. Dylan Ennis was, you know, at Rice, at Villanova's program. Think about that program. And he was a key cog in their wheel. So, and then you keep going. So we expected them. UCLA knew they had a lot of good experience coming back as well. But obviously the freshmen, what TJ Leaf and Lonzo Ball have meant to their team is incredible. Those two guys are really special players. You know, the third, I don't know if it would be us. I mean, you always hope that we can have a good year, but I wouldn't have predicted a top 10 ranking in mid to late February. I would certainly have signed up for that if somebody would have presented it to me in August. But, you know, rankings are great, but it's about performance on the court. 5 games left in the Pac-12 regular season. 3 of them are on the road for us, and we have a big trip coming up all the way to the Pacific Northwest, which is not an easy trip for us, and 2 teams that played us very close here at home. Hopefully we can learn from that and be better and play our best here this week.
Where do you stand on that? I mean, you're ranked 5th now, projected to get a 3 seed, great record, et cetera, and yet you know, you've had some concerns, and you know, maybe not so much the other night, but I mean, do you feel like in the big picture you're in pretty good shape, or there's, you know, this time of year,
you know, there's always things that you're trying to improve. You know, we're not perfect. We're the furthest thing from it. And there was always those games that you don't play well, or maybe your offense isn't playing particularly well, but you win the game because of great defense, or vice versa. You know, you have those games where you like to be better, tougher to score against, but your defense lets you down, but you have a prolific night offensively. A lot of times seasons are defined by that. When you don't play well, can you still win? If the ball isn't going in, or you get a couple guys in foul trouble like we had the other night, does that do you in, or can you still overcome those things and win? That's a great quality to have, and that's a quality that we've had all year, where we've had players missing, we've had Alonzo out, we've had times where, you know, we have the big leads and teammate made epic comebacks against us. We held on. There's times when, you know, we've made comebacks. I mean, if you think about some of our starts early in this year in Michigan State, you know, it felt like we were going to get blown out in the opening game of the season, but yet we rallied. At Cal, first Pac-12 game, we were down, I think, 19-6, but we rallied. So, you know, our team has been a part of everything, where we've been good on offense, not good on defense, good on defense, not good on offense, have blown leads, have got off to slow starts, but some way we found a way to be there in the winner's circle. And if you look at our 3 losses at Oregon and playing Gonzaga in L.A., there aren't a lot of teams that are going to win those 2 games. And, you know, Butler obviously is a great team as well, and I think we had a really good chance to win that game and didn't. So we've had a consistent season, no matter how you look at it. You like to, sometimes have a little bit more of a margin at the end of games where instead of having to make big plays, it'd be nice to be up 10 or 15 points. But, in conference play, that doesn't happen a lot, and especially when you're the hunted. When you play Arizona, you're going to get teams' best shots. My teams love to come in McHale and see if they can end our streak or beat us. So that's all part of it as well. And to your point, there are some things we have to keep working on and getting better at. And believe me, we've identified those things, and we're hard at it.
Could you break down a couple at the top of your list of things to do?
I think with Lowry, both different types of zones we've seen, and we did a really good job of attacking Cal's zone. We actually did a very good job of attacking Stanford zone, and there are two different types. The thing about Stanford zone is we had some unforced turnovers. But if you took our turnovers away, we executed against both of those zones. And I think we're really on the upswing to being more comfortable as a team. And that's our responsibility as a coaching staff. You don't want a team to be comfortable against certain defenses and not others. But we took a big step in the right direction this week. And I think that will only continue as we move forward. One of the things I remind myself of is we have a lot of young players playing. And I know those guys have been playing all year, but, end of game situations, playing against different zones, it's not as if we have a ton of experience out there. And sometimes we show that. But our guys are getting better. And, defensively, when you switch Lowry man-to-man, defenses are switching a lot of his ball screens. That not only him but his teammates and us are more organized to take advantage of that. And I think we're moving in the right direction to doing that as well, as we've now seen that more consistently recently than we had early in the year.
Well, you talked about that and trying to get him the ball in better places, and then the zones obviously, and teams seem to be in general going after him more. Is part of that confidence with him, and two, you think
I really don't look at it as being confidence with him. I look at it as just him getting good opportunities. If he gets good opportunities, he'll score or get fouled. It's up to us and me, our coaches, to give him better opportunities. And it's not just him. It's the four other guys being more observant, being more efficient, putting them in a better position so that we can exploit teams that are doing that. I'm very confident in saying we're moving in the right direction. Defensively, our defensive rebounding against Cal was outstanding, and it wasn't nearly as good against Stanford, but I think it really shows how talented we can be rebounding the ball when we're locked in. If you can do it against Cal, you can do it against any team in the country because they're great at getting second shots. So among the many things this week that I was pleased about are being a more efficient team against the zone and our rebounding against Cal. I think both are really good signs for our future. And, look, when you have Alonzo and Lowry in really bad foul trouble, you don't get points from really either guy that you normally get. It's not easy to win, and we found a way to win. So I think we have a big upside. Normally they're going to score a lot more points than they did in the last game. And again, credit Cal. Cal's also an outstanding defensive team. They've shown that.
From one point guard to another, what does Flynn bring to Wazoo's table?
I really think he's a good player. Watching them again this morning against us the first time, watching him play on their most recent trip to Colorado and Utah, he's one of the better players in our conference. He's one of the best freshmen in our conference, and I would say that his meaning to Washington State's team this year, his impact as a freshman, it would be considered more of a national story. I think that his value, you can compare him to some of the other guards that are playing across the country who are freshmen. and he's a very, very good player. He's poised, and as a point guard, man, when you can shoot the three-point shot like him, you add even more value. I felt that way when we played him the first time, and just kind of watching him, he's a big piece to their team this year. So we're going to be, I think, a lot better prepared for him, having faced him, just seeing the type of player that he is, and hopefully we can do a better job defending him and being more aware of him this time around.
You have an interesting, unique situation here playing Washington schools pretty quickly after you just played them. Does that make it easier to turn around and attack those things you'd like to do better?
No, not really. You always look at game one and figure out what worked, what didn't, what they did against us, and what we need to do better. So I think we know, Washington State scored against us. They were efficient against us. They scored in transition. They got the ball to Clifford too close to the basket. He hurt us, and I thought the pace of play caught us off guard. They had a number of quick baskets that we have to take away, but that's their style, and they played a matchup zone, and although I thought we scored pretty well against their matchup zone, I think there's some things that now we can do better, maybe put our team in a better position to be more comfortable against it, and that's up to us to be ready for that on Thursday.
Washington threw a little zone at you too, I think. And are those two zones you'll see this weekend? Compare it all to what you saw last week?
Yeah, so Cal played a 2-3 zone, and that's what Washington plays. Washington gave us almost an entire game, maybe 35, 36 minutes of zone the first time. And then they've played other teams zone as well. But I'm not as focused on Washington. I haven't seen them. I'm watching Washington State right now. But I do think our team, and we're working on it. I mean, we know teams are zoning us, so it's not as if we're going to walk out there and be surprised. So the more that you work on things, the more you teach and coach. And like I said, the youngest players that are out there, Raleigh, Kobe, and Lowry, the more they have the opportunity to learn and see, I think the more comfortable that they will get. But it's part of what I loved about Kobe's game against Cal. He was really comfortable and confident against the zone and made big plays. Got the ball inside, had a great drive in the second half, hit a three. He was ready to go, and it was great to see.
Is there a focus on having Lowry take more twos or play more inside the arc?
Yes, and that's what we're talking about. Taking advantage of his size against mismatches and allowing him to get second shots, get fouled more. He was well on his way to doing that against Cal. He just got in really early foul trouble. As a matter of fact, he had a great drive early against Ivan Rabb and got fouled on the play, and then it wasn't called, and then he reacted to try to offensive rebound his own miss, and then he fouled Cal, and they called that one. And sometimes that happens, but it was a strong drive. He got tackled on the play. But we want that out of him, a physical drive, offensive rebounding, physical post-ups, mixing that in with what he does really naturally, shooting. That's going to bring out the best in our team as well. So if we could keep him out of foul trouble, which I think we will, I think you're going to see that here in the near future.
Speaking of him against Rabb, that play toward the end of the game, one-on-one, Rabb kind of takes him ISO and Lowry completely shut him down. How much has he improved defensively this year?
He's improved a lot, and I thought in the Cal game our big guys did a great job. Not just Lowry, but Chance. Chance really competed, and so did Deuson. It was one of the reasons we were able to win.
What areas has Chance improved the most since the start of the year?
Chance has improved everything. He scores. He shoots the highest percentage on our team from the field. He's improved his free throw shooting. He's made clutch free throws. He's very consistent. Defensively, he's better. And, game experience does that. And Chance has played a lot of minutes. He's played in a lot of big games for us. And, when you're in game 26, the old adage that freshmen are no longer freshmen when you get deep into February and they've had big roles. Well, Chance, being that he's in his second year, he's a more experienced, seasoned player right now. And you can see that.
Seems like he's been a really good option when you've had issues with fouls and stuff. I mean, more, I mean, do you trust him more in the situation like you had Saturday?
Yeah, our bench was terrific against Cal. All the guys. Keanu gave us 10 really good minutes in the first half. We needed him too because of foul trouble and his quickness defensively, and he has a knack of going after the ball. We talked about that, continuing to keep him in the rotation after we watched what it felt like when he wasn't, and that's something we're gonna continue with because of how he played.
South Point's got a number 2 seed in the state basketball tournament. What kind of advice have you been giving Cameron for their playoff run?
I just want Cameron to have fun. He's worked really hard at the game, loves the game, loves his school, his team. He's playing down the home stretch of his high school time, so I know he wants to go far in the playoffs, and hopefully he can do a good job helping his team do that.
Going back to the Jerry Palm meeting, scheduling, RPI, was there anything he said to you as a coach that you didn't know before, or you didn't really take into consideration before, or?
No, I mean, I think I'm pretty well versed in scheduling. You better be if you're a coach at this level. I mean, you control the 13 non-conference games, and in some ways that's everything. You really can't control the quality of your conference, but you certainly can control who you play home, away, neutral, how you set the order of the games up. I think that you learn that, and you can't always control this, but playing RPI 300 plus, 250 plus, everybody needs balance, and there's a couple of games maybe out of the 13 that potentially could represent that. But if you play too many of those, the detriment it does not only to you and your program, team, but the detriment it has across the board in your conference. And it's just mathematics. So once you get past Christmas and you only play each other as the Pac-12, the numbers don't lie. They are what they are, and they've been built exclusively by the conference's choices in who he selected to play. So you have 12 teams times 13 games. That's a lot of games, right, that you want to have some method to what we're doing. And for the most part, I think we're moving in a good direction. But you can't control all of it. I use Missouri as an example because Missouri, they've fallen on hard times. You could have never predicted that 5 years ago when we established a home and away series. So they might represent one of those high RPI games, but that wasn't our intention. And, every team has those circumstances.
Does it ever get to the point where you think about like the Las Vegas tournament? You got kind of 2 lower teams out of that, and you weren't in control, but you knew going in that might happen. I mean, does it ever get to the point where you're just going to say, I don't know about going in this tournament? Cause
we won't ever play in that tournament again for that reason. But, I'll also tell you this, that Santa Clara had really put together a solid season, if you look at them. And, we didn't play them at home. That was a neutral court. And Butler was in a very good team, for us. I mean, they're a top 25, team really throughout the season. So the fact that those 2 teams were in the tournament is very helpful. But you're right. The other 2 that we were presented with would be 2 that you would look at and say, those are the 2. But you learn from that. And but it was also balanced out by a lot of other good opportunities. I mean, we played the number 1 team in the nation on a neutral court. Win or lose that game, that's going to really help you, right? Gonzaga. So, that balances out maybe those 2 at home. But we're very well aware of that, and I think that when we scheduled that, we weren't maybe as in control as we thought we would have been to see those 2 home games as part of that tournament.
But on the other hand, it's tough. I mean, you have Maui, you're going to be fine there. With Bahamas looks like a good field, but you can't do that every year right out of 4.
Right, but I think that all of us know the tournaments, the high-level tournaments, you're always going to be there. But there's also a different side of things, and in your quest to get everything right, scheduling, you also have to build confidence. It's nice to be able to learn lessons and win. For example, this year, if you think about the injuries that we had, it's so important that you have balance, that, hey, we're playing anybody, any place, anywhere, great. When you start losing 4 or 5 games in a non-conference season, that's not always helpful either. So balance is what we're trying to do, but we're aware of some of the non-conference do's and don'ts, that's for sure. And we try to follow it religiously.
You've been putting Alonzo back in the lineup. I didn't know. Do you expect Parker probably to stay where he's at, coming off the bench? Is that role working well with him and for you guys? I mean, I don't know how you put him back in at this point anyway with the guys.
Yeah, I mean, our bench is important. Whether you start or not. This week is a great example. The minutes that we were able to get from Parker and Keanu, Chance and Kobe, those are 4 quality players. And, we're not just a one-man show. We're not just a heavy starter team. And we're trying to do it 9 deep. And, it's nice if you look at minutes played. We have a great balance. And part of February is about not wearing your team out. You want to have energy. You want to be able to go on the road and last 10 minutes of a game. If you want to be able to finish strong, not be a worn-out group. And minutes played at this point is big, and those 4 guys are vital. Parker's one of them.
How about the Washington State trip? They looked like they were getting. They played tough here. They looked like they were competitive, and then they get blown out yesterday. I mean, where do you kind of see them at right now? A few weeks after you saw them.
They have 3 really experienced seniors. Hawkinson has been a double-double player in our conference for 3 years now. Clifford's one of the most improved players in our conference, a big guy who really hurt us the last time. Ike Aragbu, 4-year starter, 3-year starter. So, they have that going for us. Malachi Flynn, one of the best freshmen in our conference. Ernie Kent's a really good coach, and, offensively they can score. And playing at home, they're going to play with more confidence. I think they've played everybody tough at home, everybody. So we expect a really hard battle. Winning on the road is difficult in the Pac-12.
You've had great luck with staying in Spokane and coming down there. I think you're 6-0, and then you even beat Gonzaga up there last year. I mean, is there something about the way that works for you guys, and driving down the day of the game, which seems like it would be hard, but...
No, I mean, that's just how we've chosen to do it, period. There's nothing magical as much as I think our teams have really been focused on this trip, and I hope the same holds true this year.
Does that change? You act like day of the game shoot around. You guys still go to Gonzaga, is that right?
Yes.
I mean, and that doesn't throw anybody off to do that and then sit in the bus and get maybe...
No, it's also a good change of pace. And, you look at tournament play, you do that all the time. You tend to shoot in a place where you don't necessarily play the game. And we get to the game very early because of the length of the trip. So guys have an opportunity to get in there and shoot.
Okay, you get there they'll let you in, or you can go 3
We're
hours
just 30
before,
to 40 minutes earlier than we normally do. Get there.
And then how does that the swing when you after the game you take a bus to Lewiston and then fly to Seattle? Have you ever found that is either delays or you get in super late to Seattle?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard trip. No matter how you look at it, that's why winning the games on that trip are particularly hard, especially leaving Arizona. Somebody told me that it's the furthest distance of a conference opponent in the country, and so think about that. It's so going all the way to Seattle, and the logistics between the two, it's hard on everybody. Every conference has those hard travel points, but that's what allows, or you're really relying on your team being very focused, and that's what this week is about. We have to be very focused, and we have to play well, and we have to prepare well before we leave.
You were mentioning the other day you felt like they need a couple days off. Speaking of that, how can you get a couple days off, or can you go easy or take today off?
Well, we took yesterday off, which was great, and then we're going to be really smart today. It's not about practicing very long. There's a few things we have to cover, but in and out. So I would look at yesterday and today as really giving us that opportunity. And, coming off of last week, we didn't have that opportunity because we played on a Wednesday. we were quick, quick turnaround. So this week we have kind of that extra or that normal day in between, and we have to take advantage of it. And we'll have the same thing leading to next week. And next week we'll be coming off the road, which is sometimes great, having those 2 days to get ready for next week's 2 home games.
The Cougars were on the road yesterday, so that's
Right.
tough for them. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
I'll be back at Shannon.